Femi couldn't shake off the feeling of unease as he left the mysterious gathering. He had suckled the breast of the mysterious woman, Arachne, and now he felt like he was trapped in a web of darkness. As he walked away from the gathering, Tijani approached him with a small, intricate carved box in his hands. "This is for you, Femi," he said, his voice low and mysterious. "Keep it in your wardrobe, and every 3 days you will find a surprise waiting for you." Femi took the box, feeling a strange energy emanating from it. He didn't know what to expect, but he was determined to uncover the secret of the mysterious box. As he arrived home, Femi placed the box in his wardrobe, feeling a sense of trepidation. He waited for 3 days, his curiosity growing with each passing hour. Finally, the day arrived. Femi opened his wardrobe and his eyes widened in shock. The wardrobe was filled with stacks of money, all denominations, all currencies. Femi couldn't believe his eyes. He had never seen so much money in his life. He stared at the money, his mind racing with questions. Where did it come from? How did it get here? And what did the mysterious boss have to do with it? As he stood there frozen in awe, Femi knew that his life was about to change forever. He was now a part of something much bigger than himself, something mysterious and sinister. As he gazed at the money, Femi couldn't help but wonder what other secrets the mysterious box held, and what lay ahead of him on the dark and twisted journey. Femi's mind was racing with thoughts of the mysterious box and the sudden influx of wealth. He couldn't shake the feeling that something was off, that there was more to the box and the court than met the eyes. Despite his reservations, Femi couldn't deny the allure of the money. He had always struggled to make ends meet, and the sudden windfall was a temptation he couldn't resist. Over the next few days, Femi found himself returning to the wardrobe again and again, each time finding more money waiting for him. He began to spend lavishly, buying expensive cars and clothes, and living a life of luxury he never thought was possible. But as the days turned into weeks, Femi started to notice strange occurrences around him. He could find strange symbols etched in the walls of his home and hear whispers in the night. He began to feel like he was being watched, and the feeling of unease grew inside of him. One night, Femi received a visit from Tijani, who appeared at his doorstep with an ominous grin. "We are enjoying the fruit of our labor, I see," he said, his eyes glittering with amusement. "But do you know the true cost of your newfound wealth?" Femi felt a chill run down his spine as Tijani's word hung in the air. He knew that he had made a pact with a dark force, and he couldn't shake the feeling that he was in grave danger. "What do you want from me?" Femi asked, trying to find and keep his voice steady. Tijani's grin grew wider. "Oh, we want nothing from you, Femi. At least not yet. But soon, you'll be called upon to repay your debt. And when that day comes, you'll be required to make a sacrifice." Femi's heart sank as Tijani's word echoed in his mind. He knew that he had made a terrible mistake, and he couldn't escape the feeling that he was trapped in a living nightmare. Femi's eyes widened as Tijani revealed the condition for maintaining his wealth. "You must never sleep in the house where the box is kept," Tijani said, his voice firm and unyielding. "If you do, the wealth will vanish and you will suffer the consequences." Femi felt a shiver run down his spine, but he was too invested in the wealth to back out now. "I agree," he said finally, trying to sound confident. As the days turned into weeks, Femi found himself living a strange nomadic existence. He would visit the house during the day, opening the wardrobe to find it filled with money, But at night he would leave the house, wandering the street or sleeping in hotels. One fateful day, Femi made a mistake. He was tired and exhausted, and he decided to take a nap in the house. He curled up on the couch, feeling a sense of relief wash over him. As soon as he drifted off to sleep, the room began to shake and tremble. The box in the wardrobe began to glow with an otherworldly light, and Femi felt a presence stirring, a presence that had Femi felt himself being pulled into a dark and foreboding vortex. The air grew thick and heavy, making it hard for him to breathe. He tried to sit up, but an unseen force pinned him to the couch. Suddenly, the light flickered and died, plunging the room into darkness. Femi heard footsteps echoing through the room, heavy and deliberate. They seemed to be coming from all directions, closing in on him. The box in the wardrobe began to glow brighter, casting an eerie light over the room. Femi felt a presence drawing closer, a presence that seemed to be watching him with cold, calculating eyes. As the footsteps grew louder, Femi felt a chill run down his spine. He tried to scream, but his voice was frozen in his throat. The presence drew closer, its eyes burning with intensity, and then, just as suddenly as it had begun, everything stopped. The room fell silent, the darkness was absolute, and Femi was left alone, gasping for breath. But as he looked around, he realized that something was terribly wrong. The room had changed, the furniture was rearranged, and the box in the wardrobe was gone. As Femi struggled to make sense of the sudden disappearance of the box, he heard a faint whispering in his ear. It was Arachne's voice, cold and menacing, echoing through the room. "You have broken the rules, Femi," she hissed. "You slept in the house, and now the box is gone." Femi's heart sank as he realized the gravity of his mistake. He had been so careful, so diligent, and yet he had still managed to mess up. "What do I do?" he begged, his voice shaking with fear. Arachne's voice seemed to caress his ears, sending shivers down his spine. "You want the box back?" she purred. "Very well, but it will cost you dearly. You must make a sacrifice of something precious, something that will hurt you to give up." Femi's mind was racing as he tried to think of what he could possibly sacrifice. He had no family, no friends, no loved one. What could he possibly give up that would be worthy of the box's return? Arachna's voice seemed to sense his hesitation, and she pressed her advantage. "You have 72 hours to make the sacrifice," she warned. "If you do not, your life will be the price you pay." Femi knew that he had no choice. He had to make the sacrifice, no matter how terrible it was. He stilled himself, took a deep breath, and nodded. "I'll do it," he said, his voice firm. As soon as he agreed, Femi felt a snaring pain in his head. He screamed in agony as Arachne's followers closed in around him, their eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. When the pain finally subsided, Femi looked down at his head in horror. The center of his head was a mass of raw, festering flesh with maggots crawling out of the wound. The smell was overpowering and Femi gagged in disgust. He stumbled out of the room into the bright sunlight. The world around him seemed to be spinning and Femi felt like he was losing his grip on reality. He knew he had to find a way to come to terms with what had been done to him. But for now, he just stumbled through the streets, trying to escape the horror of his own reflection. As Femi stumbled through the street, he couldn't shake off the feeling that he was being watched. Every step he took, every move he made seemed to be monitored by an unseen eyes. He quickened his pace, but the feeling only intensified. The maggots crawling out of the wound on his head seemed to be getting worse, and Femi knew that he had to find a way to come to terms with what has been done to him. As he walked, Femi caught glimpses of himself in storefront windows and reflective surfaces. He was shocked by what he saw. His hair was a mass of rough, festering flesh with maggots crawling out of the wound. The smell was overpowering. Femi's heart was racing, his breath coming in rag gasps. He didn't know how much longer he could keep going. The pain and the horror was overwhelming him, and he didn't know if he would ever be able to escape. He stumbled into a deserted alleyway, hoping to find some solace in the darkness. But as he leaned against the wall, he felt the maggot crawling out of his wound, and he knew he couldn't escape the horror of his own body. Femi slid to the ground, his head in his hands, and he wept. He wept for the life he had lost, for the sacrifice he had made, and for the horror that had he had become. He wept until he had no tears left, and then he sat in silence. Femi slowly got up from the ground, wiping away the tears that had streamed down his face. He knew he couldn't stay in the alley forever. Then his hair covering up his wound with a cap, trying to conceal the horror that lay beneath. With the cap in place, Femi felt a sense of determination wash over him. He knew he had to accept his fate and learn to live with it. As he walked, Femi caught glimpses of himself, and he was ashamed of himself. Femi started to rebuild his life slowly but surely. He went back to his routine, trying to act as normal as possible. He wore the cap everywhere he went, even in the sweating sun. People started to notice him again, but they didn't suspect a thing. Femi's secret was safe, hidden behind the cap. But as he walked through the garden, he felt a sense of relief wash over him. He had to accept his fate. 2 years has passed since Femi's life-changing sacrifice. He had grown accustomed to the luxurious lifestyle that came with being a member of the secret cult. The money and wealth that flowed into his life had become a norm, and he had learned to live with the guilt and shame of his dark secret. One day, Femi decided to let loose and go clubbing with his friends. He had cooled up in his mansion for too long and needed a break. Then he was caught up with so much drinking. Before he knew it, he was tumbling out of the club, supported by his friends. They got him home safely, but Femi was in no shape to take care of himself. His friends helped him into the couch and then left, assuming he would sleep it off. But as Femi laid on the couch, he felt a familiar sensation creeping over him. It was a feeling of intense fatigue, of being unable to move or fatigue. He tried to fight it, but it was of no use. He fell into a deep sleep right there on the couch. It was a mistake that would cost him dearly. Femi had forgotten the rules, forgotten the sacrifice he had made, and now he would have to pay the price again. When Femi woke up, he was greeted by a voice he knew all too well. It was the voice of Arachne, the spirit that had made the sacrifice, and she was not happy. You have forgotten the rules, Femi, she hissed. You have forgotten the sacrifice you made, and now you must pay the price again. Femi was filled with a sense of fear. 3 days for what? He asked. A sacrifice to atone for your mistake. Femi was horrified. He had thought he was free, thought he had left the past behind him, but now he realized that he was still trapped, still bound by the rules of the sacrifice. He had 3 days to prepare himself for the unknown. 3 days to say goodbye to his friends and family. 3 days to come to terms with his faith. And then it would be time to make another sacrifice, time to pay the price again. Femi was horrified by the request. A kidney of a virgin? He repeated, his voice shaking with fear. How am I supposed to get that? Arachna's voice was cold and unyielding. That is not my problem, she hissed. You have 3 days to bring me the kidney. If you fail, you will suffer the consequences. Femi knew he had no choice. He set out to find a virgin, scouring the city and searching for anyone who might fit the criteria. But it was harder than he thought. Everywhere he looked, he found people who were not what he was looking for. After the 3 days has elapsed, Femi, Arachnes, and his people came for Femi's life and they took it. Femi's body began to deteriorate. His skin turned grey and decaying, his eyes unshaken and lifeless. He could feel himself rotting from the inside, his body consumed by some dark force. As the hours finally ticked, Femi's body began to shut down. He laid on the ground, his vision fading to black. He knew he has failed, and he will soon be dead. Femi's lifeless body lay on the ground, his eyes frozen in a permanent stare. His skin was grey and decaying, the body twisted in a grotesque pose. No one came to claim his body, no one came to mourn his passing. Femi was left alone, abandoned to the mercy of the elements. Finally, after days of lying exposed, Femi's body was dragged away to a desolate place, a dumping ground for the forgotten and the damaged. The scavengers came, the vultures and the hyenas, to feast on his rotten flesh. And so Femi's story came to an end, a tale of ambition and greed, of sacrifice and horror. His body was consumed by the wild, his soul lost forever in the dark. We've come to the end of this story. I hope you did enjoy it. If this is your first time, you're highly welcome. For my returning subscribers, a big thank you.